All of the major cryptocurrencies getting hit today after reports that the SEC and CFTC are looking to crack down on the coins. Bob Pisani is at the New York Stock Exchange with all the details. Hi, Bob.
Hello, Melissa. You know, we've reported in the past about these battles between the SEC and the CFTC over who, if anyone, should have regulatory control over cryptocurrencies and even exchanges. Now, the CFTC has already said Bitcoin is a commodity, period. It is not a security, and that it should be regulated by the CFTC. However, the CFTC has not made any claims about other cryptocurrencies, and that's why we're in a regulatory gray area right now. So today, the Wall Street Journal reported that other cryptocurrencies are indeed under scrutiny by the SEC, including Ethereum, the second largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization. So the issue is this: are other cryptocurrency securities? If they are, they can be regulated by the SEC. So in general, equity securities, for example, represent ownership interest in an entity. Ethereum coins were pre-mined for an online crowd sale. It kind of fits. Another key issue is whether the creators of cryptocurrencies like Ethereum or Ripple exert significant influence over their value, like management does over publicly traded equities. Now, if they do, it could arguably be made a security and come under the supervision of the SEC. Now, a group of venture capitalists involved in the creation of Ethereum has strongly disagreed with this line of argument. They argue that Ethereum is paid to people who run the program on their computers, and that Ethereum was mined, not created. Maybe. They have already asked the SEC for a regulatory exemption, but the SEC has not yet issued a ruling. By the way, Bitcoin ETFs, the one thing everyone agrees, are clearly under the purview of the SEC, and so far, they have not approved any crypto ETFs. Back to you, Melissa.
All right. Thank you very much, Bob Pisani. I'll go to you, Tim, since you hold Ethereum. I mean, they also argue that they own, the founders of Ethereum, they own a small amount of the total float of Ethereum. So they don't have the power to exert that control, exactly, that the SEC is worried about.
No, the developers hold the control. The developers need to feel that this is the platform where they have both the technical expertise and essentially the foundation to build upon, but also, I think, the transparency in the regulatory environment. So I keep feeling as if while the market doesn't like regulation, this is ultimately a great thing.
All right, well, our next guest says, don't worry about the crackdown or potential crackdown. Keep betting on crypto. Let's go off the charts with Robert Slimer of Fundstart Global Advisors. Hi, Rob. What are you looking at?
Hey, Melissa. Thanks very much. So the technicals are always really important with cryptocurrencies. You know, thinking about regulation and what happened with the tax issues, that was a big downdraft in Ethereum, roughly between 1,000 down to around 350. So that, to me, was really where you had the crux of all the issues, all the concerns coming in. And this looks like we're putting in some sort of bottom. But what I think is interesting, we get this news out today, and Ethereum really doesn't break down again. We really don't see this rollover. In fact, when we take a look at the technicals, Ethereum has already rallied back up into this 700 range. There's a lot of resistance around the 200-day moving average. And if you look at one of these momentum indicators like RSI, it was pretty overbought. In fact, we see that on most cryptocurrencies, and it looks like they're due for a pause, and we're starting to see that. We already saw that in Bitcoin over the last week and a half. So in general, I think the reaction of Ethereum to the news was relatively positive today. And when we look at Bitcoin, there's something much more interesting happening here as well. For example, it started to stall at the 200-day. Momentum's gotten overbought. We're starting to see this consolidation. There's a tremendous amount of support here between 8,200 and 8,400. And I don't think there's a lot of downside. This is around roughly 9,600 where Bitcoin began to stall. The key point here is this huge downtrend that's been in place since January is now reversing. So the question is, are we seeing a bigger bubble, or is this a bottoming phase? And we think it's a bottoming phase that's taking hold, and that you want to be buying this pullback from this short-term overbought. So a lot of comparisons have been made to the NASDAQ going back to the 2000 time frame, arguing this is where we are. We don't believe that's the case for a couple of reasons. One, Bitcoin hasn't been around that long. It's only been around for a couple of years. And the amount of institutional money that's come in and private money that's come in is nowhere near to the type of bubble that we saw in the NASDAQ going back from 1995 through to 2000. So if we look at Bitcoin, it's just pulled back to the 200-day. And again, going back to 2013, 2014, it comes out of this trading range. We've really only seen a bull market in Bitcoin for 2 years. That's a 70% correction back to the 200-day moving average. We think this is a bottoming phase. This short-term overbought situation that's developed, we want to be buying.
Should we invite Rob over to the
Of course.
desk? All right, sure.
Why
Come on
wouldn't
over,
we?
Rob.
Bring them in.
Come on over. Heidi's going to bring in the chair. Thank you, Heidi.
Robert, good to see you. Welcome.
So in terms of the price action, Tom Lee, also a Fundstrat, had made the case that there was going to be a lot of tax selling in the coins. Does
Fair
it look
enough.
like that has resolved? I mean, do we see enough in the price action to believe that that potentially was the cause for the softness?
I think it's a combination of regulation, concerns, taxes, a break in price. All of that sort of came together in the perfect storm. Bitcoin collapsed 70 some odd %. We saw the other cryptocurrencies collapse. You had a bottom in February. You had a retest out in March and April. It looks like a low to me. And this recovery we've seen has been relatively orderly. It's a little overbought. You're getting a bit of a pullback. Looks pretty timely to me.
Of the Corral and the Jose Escolar Bulls break, led by the Steers up Santo Domingo.
Open the moon door.
The moon door is open. And there we go, the alpha male establishing his position right in the center, behind the lead steer as they turn through Town Hall. Itzy running
Dennis
right on
having
the
the run of his life.
Fantastic run. Oh my goodness.